welcome to Foundations, a series of introductory videos brought to you by the faculty of Memoria College. Each video in this series introduces a single foundational text in the Western Great Books tradition. All of these texts are included in the core curriculum of the Memoria College Master's Program. And if you would like to dive deeper into any of these texts, continue this conversation with other like-minded students, with excellent faculty, please visit us at memoriacollege.org. Today, we are covering Moby Dick, and I am here with Kyle Janke and Martin Cothran. I am Dan Sheffler. We are all faculty at Memoria College. So let's start by addressing the elephant in the room. This book is clearly a great book in the sense that it is pretty thick. And a lot of people will know Moby Dick from the long cetology chapter, and they have this impression, if they haven't read Moby Dick before, a lot of people have the impression that there's long, boring stretches about whales and things. So let's start by justifying this book. Why should someone sink the time into reading through a big, massive tome like this? What makes this book a great book?
Yeah, well, first, I have to say, you missed the opportunity to say we're addressing the whale in the room, not the elephant. But
we're sorry about that.
I'll do better next time.
Yeah. But no, I think so. So yeah, I hear this a lot. I hear this all the time from students. I heard this from students' parents when I used to teach the novel at a high school level. And that is that I mean, isn't it just Melville sharing his encyclopedic knowledge of whaling? Mm-hmm. And if I mean, you read the novel, if you're looking for encyclopedic knowledge, number one, it's not exhaustive. He doesn't tell you everything, literally everything there is to know about whaling. His novel doesn't contain what an encyclopedia entry would, right? And two, he also invents things about whaling. There's a specific instance midway through the novel, I think it's in the chapter entitled "The Monkey Rope," where Melville inserts his own footnote saying that this element of the story, this element that's taking place with the characters in the book, isn't actually a thing that happens in American whaling, but it happened on the deck of the quote, the fictional ship that he's writing about. So he's inventing aspects of whaling that aren't actually historical, which means I think he has an ulterior motive for what he's telling us.
So what's the ulterior motive? What's he really after?
I think it's symbolic. Everything that he's telling us about whaling symbolizes some universal truth of human nature and our experience in the world.
Mm-hmm. What would you say, Martin? What justifies spending the time on a big tome like this?
Yeah, can we address the size? I think the size of Melville's book is commensurate with its greatness, right? I mean, I read an article several years ago about the King James Bible and talking about the exalted language in there. That exalted language is commensurate with the subject because the subject is God, and here, and I'm sure Kyle will address this. But this whale is this great thing.
Yeah.
And so I think I think the style of his language, the scope of the book, everything it fits with everything else. It's a great subject. So why not have, and in fact, he addresses this. If I could just read this short quote in the book. He says, "One often hears of writers who rise and swell with their subject, though it may seem but an ordinary one. How then with me, writing of this Leviathan? Give me a condor's quill. Give me Vesuvius's crater for an inkstand. Friends, hold my arms, for in the mere act of penning my thoughts of this Leviathan, they weary me. Such and so magnifying is the virtue of a large and liberal theme, we expand to its bulk." I think that's a brilliant a statement of what he's trying to do and why he's doing it the way he is.
So he's writing about something big.
He's writing about something
so we have to have
he's writing
big.
bigly about something big. Yeah.
Very big.
Yes. Yeah. Right.
So So what is this Leviathan? What is the white whale? Is it just a big creature that they're going to go out and hunt that's dangerous? What's it all about?
Yeah. I'll probably end up reiterating this as we talk about this and saying this again, but I'm very passionate about this fact. Melville opens his novel with a literary demonstration, I guess you would say, of what the whale is. He opens with the chapter entitled "The Extracts," an introductory chapter. It's before chapter 1. It's a chapter that most people miss, just like or skip rather, just like they skip the Custom House in Cothran's Scarlet Letter. They pass right over it. It's just a bunch of quotations, and then they start in chapter 1 with "Call me Ishmael." But if you go back and read those quotations, what Melville is doing is he's building up in the reader's mind what a whale is, what a whale means to us as human beings. So it's not actually looking scientifically at the whale. He's looking at, I think, what the whale's significance is to our human experience and human life. So what the whale is in our imaginations.
And what is that?
We could start with bigness, right? We could start with depth. It's the Leviathan. It's the creature from the deep. It's that which we cannot control, that which is beyond us, beyond Melville's pen.
There's a kind of cosmic horror element lurking in the background throughout the book. This the deep of the ocean, the unexplored, the unfindable, these big things that can't be controlled, that are dangerous to human life. And then there's Ahab, who has a particular relationship with this, what I just labeled as cosmic horror, or this Leviathan. So let's talk a little bit about Ahab too. What's going on with Ahab in the book?
Well, I think the way Melville lays this out, you get, I forget what chapter number it is, but the quarterdeck, that chapter where Ahab plays his cards. He reveals himself as a character to his crew. And you get the famous response of Starbuck, this is blasphemy, and all the rest of the crew is with it, or with Ahab. So that's, I think, where we meet Ahab. And then shortly following that is the chapter, The Whiteness of the Whale, which I think is the, what would we say, that the chapter that most clearly expresses what you were terming as that cosmic horror encapsulated by the whale. So those two things go hand in hand, that you've got what the whale represents, that which we cannot control, this cosmic horror. And then you've got Captain Ahab, who is named for a king. He's identified early in the novel as he has a king's name. So there's this idea of royalty about him. And he doesn't like the fact that he can't control Moby Dick. Or, I guess, flip it around. He doesn't like the fact that Moby Dick has, the whale, the great whale, has that power over him.
Is that somehow symbolic of the fact that we can't stand, that we can't know everything? I mean, there's a lot of that. This is part of, I think, the richness of a book like this, is that, there you can say that about it, but you can say 12 other things too that aren't necessarily even consistent with that. But the greatness of the symbolism, the depth of the symbolism, allows this kaleidoscope of different interpretations that you could plausibly make of it.
Right? We could talk for 2 hours about what Ahab represents. And maybe some of it would not be quite accurate, but it provokes a whole conversation that's worth having.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit too about the narrator. Everybody knows "Call me Ishmael," right? What's going on with the narrator? Is he simply a dispassionate observer of this quest of Ahab, or is he the real protagonist of the story, or what? What's going on with the narrator?
I think in many ways he's the opposite of Ahab. If Ahab is named for a king, Ishmael is the least of the least and the lowest of the low. He's identified as that in the chapter where it's sort of, he's talking about the position of everyone on the ship, and Melville puts Ishmael pretty much in the bottom of the pecking order on the Queequeg. So yeah, I mean that's one thing.
So he's a sort of anti
Yeah.
Ahab that's observing the situation, and he has his feelings about it.
Or if we could say Ahab is a monarch of some kind, Ishmael is the common man.
It struck me reading the novel how little power and control Ishmael has throughout the novel, whereas that's precisely what Ahab is trying to do, is have control over himself, the ship, everything that's going on, and ultimately the whole of the natural world. Ishmael is observing but can't control hardly anything.
After his first lowering, so the first time that the boats lower for a whale, and Ishmael experiences that for the first time, when he comes back, he's got this wonderful line about rowing backwards into the jaws of death. He's questioning that. We must be crazy. What are we like? How can we do this? Rowing backwards into the jaws of death. This is insane. And if you look at the character of Ahab, by contrast, through the whole novel, he's always leaning forward. He has this forward-leaning posture, this forward-leaning, even if it's not, physical. Mentally, he's always moving forward. There's an aggression to Ahab that is opposite to this idea of moving backwards into the jaws of death. He wants to meet it head on.
That makes me want to have a whole conversation that we can't have right now about the link here between Moby Dick and The Great Gatsby, which is another book I know you love, because there's that famous line at the end of the book about going backwards in time, backwards into the past.
I'm curious if we're talking about characters here. Queequeg.
Yeah.
Because the book has this Old Testament feel to it. And Queequeg's a pagan. Why is he there?
He's a pagan, but he's noble. He's heroic. I think if you're looking at the figure of Queequeg overall, I think you'd be hard pressed to find a flaw. He's good. He's physically capable. He's well-meaning. Is it one instance or two where he saves somebody's life? There's one very specific instance where he saves somebody's life who falls overboard, and he dives after him, and it's heroic. He rescues him like it's nothing, and Ishmael kind of observes that this thing that meant so much to everybody else doesn't mean a whole lot to Queequeg. So yeah, I mean he's a figure of pagan nobility. I wonder if we could even almost compare him to some kind of a classical sculpture or something like that.
He seems to also sort of be outside the system of concerns of the rest of the ship.
Yes.
And has this noble detachment from it all.
Yeah.
Well, good. So we are going to send our students off to go read this book. What are some things that they should be looking out for, or a reading assignment that we can give them?
Well, there's certain scenes in here that I just find fascinating, that just illustrate the ability Melville has of symbolizing something. And one of them is that scene, and I haven't read the book in several years, actually. I used to teach it. But that scene, he's running away from something. He's done something wrong, and he goes on the ship. He's in a state of sin, and he goes in the cabin, and because the ship is being weighed down by cargo that's being put on it, the ship is tilted, and the lamp. So the room, if you look at it this way, the lamp is going like this, when actually it's because, and it's this beautiful image of the state of sin. You're out of whatever. I don't know what you call that. Your lamp is not hanging down straight.
Right.
Your life is crooked in some way, and he does things like that all through the book. And some of them are so deep it's hard to even know what they, when they go down into the whale's head and all that. I know there's something to that. I know there's but I couldn't say what it is. But I think, that scene's a great scene. Maybe I don't know what maybe some other good scenes would be, just to get a little taste of how Melville does things.
Yeah, well, that scene is towards the beginning, and I think that's a passage from the sermon that Ishmael attends in the chapel.
Okay, yes.
And that's the minister is the preacher is expounding on the story of Jonah, So talking about Jonah's
Yes.
conscience.
Right.
Yeah, and Ishmael ships with all of that knowledge. Yeah, that's picked up later too. I think that conscience flame imagery is picked up later in the chapter, the Try-Works,
Mhm.
which is perhaps it's a climactic moment in the novel, which has to do with that same idea of light and illumination and conscience
Mhm.
and all of that. So that connection is important. Yeah, the descriptive power and the what is that? The ability to allegorize, to
Mhm.
make an image that means the the fundamental image overall of a ship being a little piece of human civilization, a little piece of land split off from society and sent out there into the world. And it's like Melville is saying, look at this ship out in the middle of the ocean, with a king and with a common man, with a noble, right, a noble pagan. Isn't this, true? Isn't this us? And the reader kind of sits back and says, well, yeah, like the image accurately imitates our experience,
Mhm.
real life.
Mhm.
Yeah, but for that reason, the advice I would give a reader is pay attention to that opening, pay attention to the introduction. So both extracts, what Melville is capturing there, the presence that a whale has in the human imagination. But then also we spend, how many chapters is this? 20 some chapters up to the chapter entitled Merry Christmas, on land before we even get out to sea. And Melville is building up an understanding, a relationship between Ishmael and Queequeg, and an understanding of what it means to put out to sea. That if a reader wants to understand the novel, they need to see what Melville is doing there.
Don't just skip the beginning.
That's right. Yes. Don't just read it for the story too. Read it to understand. Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, good. If you have enjoyed this conversation and want to dive deeper, like I said, join with other like minded adult students in our master's degree program at Memoria College. We hope you will join us at memoriacollege.org.